Volcanoes act out in every possible way. Like a moody person, they can erupt in violence, or steam silently, lazily creep along, or self-destruct. A volcano's origin determines its temperament. Many volcanoes erupt along subduction zones. Here, the great tectonic plates of our planet's surface push against one another. Along this margin, where one plate is rolled beneath another, we find the most violent volcanoes. Explosive eruptions fit our image of a volcano. They create large cone-shaped mountains. These erupt when magma below forces its escape. Fueled by expanding gases and boiled groundwater, the excess heat blasts through. Volcanoes like this often have alternating layers of different volcanic materials: ash, cinders, and lava. These layered cones are called composite volcanoes. Hawaii isn't near the joining of two plates, but it's a hotspot of volcanic activity. What fuels it? The Hawaiian Islands are hotspot islands, created when a pool of magma breaks through a thin spot in the crust. As it burns through, the plate moves along 4 inches a year. One island is carried away to cool, while the next one is created, assembly line fashion. On the Big Island of Hawaii, Kilauea has been erupting since 1983 and shows no signs of letting up. It's an example of a second kind of volcano, the shield volcano. The central crater is called a caldera. It still steams, but probably won't erupt violently. Farther out, lava oozes and flows, creating new real estate as it cools. The wide flow is what creates a shield volcano rather than a cone. This new unstable bench is pure basalt. Sometimes the flows are only inches from the surface. The thick, honey-like lava, typical of Hawaii, cools into a harsh, barren environment that can take years to support life. Cinder cones are a third kind of volcano. Mexico's Paracutin is a dramatic example. Like composite volcanoes, they can be explosively violent visitors to the surface of our planet. They burst forth with enormous quantities of ash, cinders, and lava fragments. They rapidly build volcanic mountains, but never as wide as shield volcanoes, or as high as composites. Cinder cone shape is determined by the size of the ejected material. Has there ever been life on Mars? It's a question that has challenged scientists since the 1890s. The eccentric and wealthy Percival Lowell pointed his powerful telescopes at the red planet and claimed to see man-made canals. A flood of alien fantasy followed and persisted into the 1970s. The Viking 1 and 2 spacecrafts landed on Mars in the late 60s and early 70s in pursuit of evidence that life had once existed here. Viking images provided the first glimpses of what looked like riverbanks. Tall mountains loomed higher than Everest on a planet a third the size of Earth, and polar ice caps locked up oceans of water. But Viking's probes proved only that Mars is a cold world ravaged by violent dust storms. Questions remained. Did the spacecrafts miss vital clues to a past some 4 billion years old? Did life gain a foothold when the planet was warmer and wet?
Since the Viking mission, scientists have learned that the most primitive of life forms on Earth thrive in boiling hot springs. Photographs suggest that hot springs like these in Yellowstone National Park were once common on Mars. And Martian meteorites contain minerals typically found near hot springs on Earth. A new era of Mars exploration is about to begin, and scientists like NASA paleontologist Jack Farmer can't wait.
Here on the edge of this hot spring, we have a place where microorganisms, bacteria, are being turned to fossils before our very eyes, the kind of fossils we'd like to look for on Mars. The waters are also loaded with dissolved minerals, and as the water cools, particularly in shallow areas, the minerals come out of solution and coat the organisms and entomb them while they're still alive, producing sort of mummies, if you will. We need to go back to Mars, and we need to look for these kinds of places, because these are the environments where that fossil record is likely to be preserved, and this will help us answer the question about life on Mars.
The search for signs of life on other worlds grows more scientifically sophisticated each year. And still, evidence persists that we just may find it on Mars. An answer to one of astronomy's most insistent questions may be just around the corner. They begin in clouds of dust and gas so far away, we would need 100,000 years to reach them. Gravity gathers hydrogen gas and particles of dust, and the clouds grow more dense. Squeezed tighter, the hydrogen heats up to a fantastic 18 million degrees Fahrenheit. Nuclear fusion turns hydrogen into helium, and the fire ignites. A star is born. Astronomer Michael Shara compares a star's life cycle to our own.
Stars are born, age, evolve, and eventually die, just like people. They have a regular life cycle. During the entire life of any star, there is this delicate balancing act, because gravity is always at work trying to crunch the star down into a small point, and the high internal pressures are trying to blow the star up and blow it apart.
Of course, a star may live for billions of years, and stellar age has nothing to do with lifestyle or heredity. It's all about size. Smaller stars burn cool and dim. When their fuel burns out, they just fade away. A medium star, like our Sun, will burn steadily for some 10 billion years. But when it finally runs out of hydrogen fuel and gravity grips the core harder, the star grows hotter and the outer layers puff up, engulfing nearby planets in its fiery demise. Finally, the outer layers blow off into space, and a dense solid core remains. This white dwarf is a dying star. A bigger star, say twice the weight of our Sun, lives hot and dies young. It burns through its fuel in just millions of years, and it doesn't go quietly. There's more material here for gravity to constrict. The star goes out with a bang called a supernova. Gravity packs the remains into material far denser than white dwarfs, called neutron stars. A teaspoon full of this stardust weighs more than a cruise ship packed with people. Some enormous stars gone supernova become so dense they turn into black holes. Think about it. A massive explosion leaves gravity unchecked, and matter is squeezed into something unseeable, stretching as far as miles and weighing incomprehensible amounts. Got it? Invisible but deadly, pulling in matter all around it. Even light can't escape. Not to worry. Supernovas are rare. A galaxy like ours, of 100 million stars, may experience only one exploding star in a century.